Hi folks, welcome to the preparedhomestead.com. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, we're about ready to wrap up the end of the year. It's getting close, and yes, another new year. It goes by so fast when you start getting older. Do you notice that? More and more, it just seems it's getting faster and faster. And this year probably has a lot of you concerned because there's just a feeling in the air of things probably aren't going to go very well over the next 6 to 12 months. But that's why we're prepared, right? That's why you're actively on a regular basis, whatever you can do to get prepared, whether you're just, and I hope you're doing more than just watching my videos, but you're doing things to get prepared. And so I thought we should cover a few somewhat basics, okay? Somewhat basics on just preparedness. And I'm not talking about things and gear and, what kind of food and all that kind of stuff to get, but I don't know, more of just simple things that sometimes we overlook or we forget. We often, many of you, not all, but many of you often focus a lot on defense stuff, the pew-pew tools. And those are cool and those are great. And I advocate strongly that everyone have them and train with them and carry them. But your preparedness plan must go much further beyond that, because the reality is you're probably not going to have as many opportunities to use those as you will to do other things like, take care of injuries or, fix something on your homestead, repair things, just basic daily life's necessities. And so a lot of times we focus on the fun stuff because it's cool, right? I mean, let's not lie. I mean, let's not make it into something it's not. It's fun, it's cool. But we neglect the things that are the most important and that's going to be needed in our daily life. Usually when I tell people and talk about this, I try to get them to imagine a world without any assistance. Imagine a world where all the things that you're used to having that come from an outside source no longer exist. Then what are you going to do? What are you going to do when you need medical care? When you're sick or you're injured or someone in your home is sick or injured and you need medical care and it's beyond what you know what to do. It's beyond the level of care that you're capable of rendering to that person. What are you going to do when you're just trying to fix something, repair something, build something that's necessary, and you just need a helping hand? I mean, that happens all the time. That happens around here all the time. Where you're doing something, it's just a little too much for just one pair of hands. You need a little extra help. And maybe it's more than what the rest of the members of your family can help with. What do you do then? What do you do when the systems in your home that are brought in from the outside sources, and I'm referring to electricity or water or natural gas or something like that? What do you do when they're shut down? What do you do when you need to fix something or do something on the homestead and you don't know exactly how to do it? And so you run to your phone to Google it and it doesn't work. What are you going to do then? These are the kind of things that we take for granted. We take for granted because all of our lives and for actually several generations now, this has just been the norm. It's been the norm to have these things. And if they were taken away or they were made difficult to acquire, to have, it's going to throw a lot of us really far off. And so these are the kind of things that we should be thinking about. We should be trying to imagine a world where these things don't exist. And then how are you going to compensate for that? Some of you are fortunate enough to have a little MAG, which is a mutual assistance group. Some of you are fortunate enough to have a little bit of tribe around you, some friends, some families, neighbors that you can count on. They're like-minded. And you're going to all pull together, but not everyone has that. And that's unfortunate. I wish that all of you did. I wish all of you did have something, a system like that around you, because it's going to make things a lot easier. It's going to make it better. But those of you that don't have it, it's still survivable. It's just going to be harder. You're going to have to think about how to handle these things on your own. And if it's something you absolutely can't handle on your own, start trying to figure out possibly people in your life, in your area, that you could work out some kind of negotiation with. For those of you that are sitting and watching this video, and maybe you're the single moms or the widowed elderly lady or disabled or something like that, and you're sitting here thinking, I'm not gonna make it. I'm not gonna make it because I'm all alone and I can't survive. I can't do these things on my own. I don't know how. I don't have the skill set. I don't have the physical ability. To be honest, it's gonna be difficult, okay? It's certainly not gonna be as easy as someone like myself that has a tribe around me that we can call on and that we can pull together. But that doesn't mean that you can't survive. It doesn't mean that you won't pull through. You're going to have to put a lot more effort into getting yourself ready because, well, you don't have anyone else to call on. We need to start thinking about these things. I wonder so many times that how many people are really starting to wrap their head around the fact that when they're in need, whatever it is, it's just not going to be there. When you run out of your food supplies, something happens, something happens that you lose it. What if there's a flood or pests get into it, or tornado or something like that, and your 1 year, 2 year food supply is now gone away? What are you going to do then? Do you have a backup plan for that backup plan? What are you going to do when just a fire happens or a tornado or anything? These are things, normal things in life that happen now. What's going to happen when they transpire, when it all falls apart, and there isn't a fire department necessarily to call on, or there isn't some type of rescue crew to come in and help because things are so chaotic? This has actually happened in recent times. If you look at reports during the BLM riots of 2020, there were times in the heat of those moments in certain areas where people just needed care that were not related to those riots. And it took them quite a while, if ever, to respond to them because of all the chaos that was going on in and around them. This can be a life or death situation. And this is why we need to be as independent as possible, and yet on the other hand also have community around us. I know it's a weird dichotomy. You want to be ruggedly and fiercely independent, but yet you also want to try to have people around you that you can count on, that you can help, and they can help you. The world that we're probably going to be seeing will most likely be very different than any of us have even imagined. We do our best to try to play out what it's going to be like, and honestly, none of us really know. We don't know the severity of what we're about to face, but we can have a pretty good idea that it's going to be very rough. And my opinion is that the best thing that we can do, because we don't know the specifics, is just to learn to do without, to do with very little, and to do on our own. People ask about money. What are you going to do? How are you going to pay your property taxes? How are you going to do this? How are you going to buy this if everything goes digital? How are you going to, get medical care and get medicines and things like that if everything goes, some kind of digital passport ID? Again, it's going to be just being as tough and as rugged as you can. And I can tell you this, that you are capable of it. You may not think that you're capable of it, and it's mostly just because we don't want to envision that. We don't want to the average human being doesn't enjoy struggling. They don't want to suffer. In fact, it's just kind of natural in us to do everything we can to avoid suffering. But we may just have to suffer for a while because that may be the only way to avoid the big brother system that's being built around us. I think that's a big part of it. They want to make it to where you have two options: suffer greatly or have a little safety and security and comfort, but by giving away all of your identity and your soul. We have to be prepared for this, folks. Prepared for this in a lot of different ways. And it's more than just having some cool high-speed gear that you know how to shoot at some paper targets with. It has to do with being able to be just very resilient, being able to handle medical and repair stuff and grow food and forage food and have the ability to negotiate and to befriend and to barter with other people. It's a lot of it. And we have to start thinking about this, because 2024 is literally just around the corner. And while I'm not saying that the complete total collapse will happen in 2024, I think that there's going to be certain areas at the very least in this country that's going to experience some chaotic times. And it very well could be a straw that breaks the camel's back. We don't know. And we need to be prepared for it. So, number one, if you're living on your own, if you're the lone wolf, if you don't see any possibility of having any kind of community or friends, you need to be very tough. You need to be very prepared. And you need to have some plans on how you will negotiate with people. That's going to be tough, especially if you consider yourself a fairly vulnerable person. It's possible. There's still going to be good people out there. In fact, history has shown us, if you look at certain natural disasters that's happened in certain parts of the country, some areas it kind of just divulged into anarchy, and then other areas everyone pulled together and there was virtually no crime, and people just helped each other. So I think a lot of that's going to depend on where you're at. You know, if you're in the middle of Chicago and you're all alone and it falls apart, well, you might be in for a bit of a rough ride. But if you live in a fairly, rural area or small town or something like that, kind of Bible Belt conservative little area, and it all falls apart, it's very likely that there's going to just be neighbors and people in your community that will jump in and help, because there's still good people out there. And we've seen that happen. There's examples all over of tornadoes coming through a small town area and the people just pulling together. Everything gets destroyed, but yet there's very little or no crime or looting during that time because people pull together. And so we can count on that, I think, in some areas. For the rest of us, we just need to be able to communicate with our people. We need to be able to have a plan of how to jump into action and how to help each other. And we need to have a plan of doing it without as much as possible, because that's where they're going to get you. They're going to get you on the, well, you need this. You need this medical care. You need this food. You need this energy. You need this protection. You need this, emergency response. And since you need it, the only way you're going to get it is that if you comply and give in. This is where we have to be prepared. It's not probably going to be so much that these things won't be available. It's they won't be available for you unless you comply with certain stipulations. So be as self-sufficient as possible, be very resilient, be capable and willing to do without and to suffer for a while, and then be constantly working on building relationships with people around you that you know and trust. And a relationship is really different than just someone you think you know that you might be able to barter with. When you build a relationship with someone really on an emotional level, it makes it much more difficult for that person to do harm to you. Yes, you're becoming somewhat vulnerable to be taken advantage of, but you're also building a bond with that person. And so when things get tough, it's much higher likelihood that that person is going to help you out and you can help them out because you've built a relationship ahead of time. That's just how things work. And so we need to be working on these things, I think, very strongly. Yes, continue your preparations. Yes, continue training and all that kind of stuff, but really working on our ability to do without and to endure some suffering for a while, much like Yeshua said, that we have to endure to the end. And so endurance is not generally considered a pleasant thing that we have to do. And it's very possible that this next year may be the start of that real endurance. So you need to be getting your houses in order. You need to be preparing yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.